With Dylan Edwards getting ready to hop in the portal, we are officially in the portal season.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
On crossover, and this is Locked On the Portal with Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one network in the country. We appreciate you stopping in, and thank you for making Locked On the Portal and Locked On College Football a part of your day each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are brought to you by FanDuel. Each and every day you get a chance. Just bet $5 if you're a new customer, and if you hit on that bet, you can unlock $300 in bonus bets across the FanDuel app. It is very easy. Just download it today. We're going to be talking about the transfer portal throughout. And at the end, we're going to get to Texas Tech. Are they the barometer for everybody to kind of go by? Not only did they have success this year, there's a really good chance they're going to win the Big 12, get an automatic bid, and probably make some noise in the college football playoff. With one window in the college football offseason, not two, not the second one after spring, that's going away. Will prices go up in the portal? And to that end, Dylan Edwards is expected to enter the transfer portal, the stud running back from Kansas State. And that is where we begin. And my co-host here tonight, Locked On College Football and Locked On Ducks host, Spencer McLaughlin. Spencer, how you doing?
You know, busy is the first word that comes to mind, but busy is good. Busy is good because in a few months, Brian, we will wait and yearn for days like this where content is easy and there's almost too much and it's overflowing. You know what I mean?
I unfortunately know very well.
Yeah.
As somebody who features the portal and it's very cyclical and it's going to one window, I know exactly what you mean. But
yeah,
when I saw the little thing come across the screen with Dylan Edwards, it was expected to get into portal. And by the way, the new window is the 2nd through the 16th of January. And it is the only, Spencer McLaughlin, the only window. Do you think just maybe, that the prices might go up for a guy like Edwards, who is obviously electric? I think a lot of people are going to panic because they don't have the ability to go through their spring roster, kind of thumbnail through practices and see the spring game and go, oh, we need a running back. You're guessing. And you're also kind of the one part of this that does suck. Somebody gets hurt that's critical to your team, you're just, it is what it is. It's called the way it's always been until the last couple of years. So the good news is we'll get spring football back on TV because everybody was freaking out about putting it on TV because everybody was poaching each other's rosters. Stories for another day, but it's fact. So what do you think? Prices not just going to go up. I think they're going to skyrocket personally. What is your take?
I don't know how they wouldn't. If you just think, basic supply and demand, right. What you're doing by condensing the portal window is you are restricting supply because the total number of players that will go in the portal, well, there's two different ways to look at it from this angle and metaphor that I'm going to run with. If you look at it from the perspective of, well, if there are if there were two chances, now there's only one to go in the transfer portal, then that means that not as many players will leave. So if there are fewer players in the portal, well, that restricts supply. What happens when you have less supply or more demand, of which you might have both? Well, then the price goes up. But let's say the same number of players go in the transfer portal, the price still, I think, is going to wind up being higher for these schools because of the leverage that players are going to have and the urgency with which everybody has to act. And your point about spring football is a really good one, that nobody wants to go into spring ball having serious questions about depth when you don't have the kind of fallback. And I know it's, a new phenomenon that's now gone for the last couple of years with this spring portal cycle, but that's been a part of coaches' routines for the last several years. We have seen some go back to your show and my show in April when the spring portal window was buzzing. There were some impact guys that went to new teams. A couple that come to mind. David Bailey at Texas Tech. We'll talk about him more later. He was a spring transfer addition. Nico Iamaleava That all transpired in the springtime.
Wow. That's right.
That was in April. And so for college football to have gotten this kind of fallback now, you're introducing a level of uncertainty because coaches for the last, 3 seasons has it been with a spring portal window? They've been accustomed to, we can go through spring ball and not put tape out there, and then we can go make a couple additions at the end. Heck, as crazy as this sounds, Oregon went through their spring game, punted like crap, and Dan Lanning came to the podium after the game, said, great to be out there and the fans and all that. Boy, I feel like we need a punter. They went and added a punter, and James Ferguson Reynolds has been a legitimate weapon for this Oregon team in the special teams unit this year. He has converted a fake punt for a first down. He would have had one for a touchdown had it not been called back because of a hold. And Oregon has allowed among the fewest return yards in the country, and that's a big reason why they beat Iowa on Saturday. So, and those are just a couple of examples. Literally thousands of players went into the portal in the last 2 windows. So to condense it down, I mean, you and I are going to be busy in January, right? It is going to be, I think, as hectic as it's ever been because we've always seen the portal with 2 windows, and now you have it all in one. You're telling me coaches have to set that roster and keep an eye towards National Signing Day, which used to be a borderline federal holiday and is now just something that comes and goes and a couple players sign in February. I would love to bring it back from, a betterment of the sports standpoint, but what the heck do I know? I just think about this stuff 24/7. But I think that portal window is going to be among the wildest that we've seen. I won't say the wildest as a blanket statement because is a player like Nico going to leave? I mean, what would the equivalent of that be? Like Dante Moore leaving Oregon? Like from a new
somebody that's going to there's going to we just don't know who it is.
Yeah, because we don't know which teams are going to make the playoff, right? And that's what made it so shocking. Is like a starting quarterback from a playoff team last year is leaving his program. Like, oh, by the way, neither program in the short term or neither side is better off for it. So I'll end my rant with this, that I think that portal window is going to demand a higher price. And the answer for schools and coaches across the country is, how badly do you want it? That's what it's going to come down to.
Well, with Dylan Edwards, and we can get into this even more after the break, like he's a guy you can put in the slot. He's a guy that can be a punt returner. He's a guy that can be a kickoff returner. And if you throw a swing pass to him that is the most generic play in all of passing, he can go through 6 guys and score. If you're a team like Oregon, I'm just using your Ducks as an example. I'm not saying they've obviously got plenty.
They do not need a running back. I can tell you that. They got plenty of depth there.
But they could still, the other thing is teams like that might try to steal that guy and keep him away from competition. That's the old Bear Bryant rule. He used to take kids to keep him away from Georgia and Auburn, literally. Actually kind of smart, but that's another story.
Yes, it's really smart. But see, in the portal era now, that's tougher.
Yeah, because they didn't have scholarship restrictions back in Bear's day. Literally, it was open-ended roster. So he had like 190 guys on scholarship.
Different world.
Yeah, so when we come back, we're going to talk about the importance of getting that guy, why certain positions, running back may not be, but which positions are going to go up, and why that is next here on this crossover at the portal and Locked On College Football. Today's show is brought to you by Wayfair. The holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or even serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are actually happening all month long, up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. So if you just need pillows, if you need coasters for your table, if you need a new table, whatever it might be for your home, Wayfair is a great spot for you. Don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head over to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale up to 70% off. That's wayfair.com. Sale ends on December the 7th. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast and Locked On College Football a part of your day on the number one network in the country, Locked On. I'm joined by Spencer McLaughlin. We're talking about a very fun topic, and one that I think is going to be really fascinating when we get into the scary position. What is the worst coach position and executed position in college football? Take special teams out of it because you can't even grade kickers. If you try to grade kickers, I'm going to come all the way out to UTR.
What's the worst executed?
Like position coached, position like teams just in general struggle, and it's coveted in the draft, but they don't get a lot of attention from analysts on TV like you.
Offensive line.
100%. And that's why in the portal, it is sickening how bad it is, because this is somebody who studies recruiting. I don't know why this is, but it's always been the same. Linemen bond. They go to a school, and by and large, if they're any good at all, they don't transfer. It's always been that way. It's the least transfer position per capita, and everybody needs them.
I think among the Power 4 schools, that is true.
I don't know why that is, but it's always been that way. Like you'll have a guy every now and then that's just a dude, but he's tired of waiting. They leave. Like Hurd or whatever the kid is that transferred from LSU to Tennessee. He was just stuck behind two guys that got drafted. Okay, that happens.
I think I know. I think I know.
Let's hear it.
You and I have talked about this before. There is not the same expectation or even desire of immediate playing time amongst offensive linemen as almost any other position.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Yeah, other than maybe quarterback, because I think you do see plenty of young defensive linemen playing, but I think it applies on that side of the ball a little bit as well. But I do feel like there's been a greater supply of pass rushers in the portal over the last couple of cycles, and I expect that to be the case again. I think with offensive linemen, there aren't as many good ones that leave, because when you've been at a place for multiple years, I don't think you're as likely to go somewhere. And I think there's just kind of that unit, culture, brotherhood, bond, all those sort of intangible things that exist with an offensive line like no others. Because think about it. What other group do you go out and it's the same guys that are all right next to each other that have to play together? Receivers can do their own thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying there isn't bonding in other position groups and all that, but there's usually only one running back on the field at a time. Wide receivers have their own assignments. Defensive linemen are rotating a lot more, so they don't even play on the field together as often. The offensive line is the most cohesive group, and so when you factor those two elements about that position for any school together, it does, I think, make it less likely that if you're, like let's take an example of any of Miami's offensive linemen. Okay, so those guys, they don't have all seniors up front. I think they have one or two. I don't honestly, but I know they're not all seniors, but they are Mario and Alex Mirabal recruited and developed guys. Miami's not having the sort of season in the second half that they are capable of. But if you're an offensive lineman that's been with the Hurricanes for the last couple of seasons and the track record of those guys sending players to the NFL is so good, what is the benefit of leaving? To try and find a better situation, to start over with a group and a scheme that you have to go and adapt to? Like, I just think you get so entrenched up front, pun intended, that you just wind up sticking it out a little bit more. And so some of the premium, to take Oregon as an example, like, I think one of the best offensive line transfers that actually moved last year from Power 4 to Power 4 is the guy at Washington, Carver Willis, I believe is his name. He went from Kansas State and he transferred to Washington. But other big O-line transfers were Group of 5 to Power 4 risers. Think about the guy that went to Colorado from Memphis, Xavier Griffin, is that his name? I might have that wrong. Hill, I don't know.
Hill.
Yeah, Xavier Hill, I think is his name. Or you look at Oregon's transfer offensive linemen. They have one from the Power 4, Emmanuel Prenon from USC, who's a beast, but he's like one of the best guards in college football. But the other two offensive linemen they brought in via the portal came from Texas State and Nevada. And I think that's a lot more common up front.
Yeah, and you still are seeing crazy numbers for some of these kids. I know that one of the guys that left Notre Dame, he wasn't even going to start this year, but he went to Nebraska and he right around 7 figures.
You talking about Pat Coogan?
No, Coogan went to IU.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, because that's another one of those notable examples. But again, that's a unique situation.
Right. Well, Notre Dame's loaded, and they had a guy coming up that was coming back off injury.
But he just started for an entire year. Like, how many times are you going to come across that where you're good enough to lead an O-line that's the foundation of a team's offense to the national championship game, and you're not going to be the starter the next year?
Notre Dame had 3 of those.
Yeah. That's not normal.
Yeah, they're the only team that doesn't take anybody in the portal for O-line. So it's exception. And that's why when I did my list the other day, I listed out like 27 teams that have at least a shot, in my opinion, to make a playoff run. Most of those still aren't going to win it, but make a playoff run. Like 24 to the 27 in the top 3 position groups that I listed, O-line was on it. It's ridiculous. And I think a tackle, this just going by last year's, some of the numbers that I heard, a tackle this year, what's the big tackle they got from Nevada at Oregon?
Isaiah World.
That's 1.5 and up. Man, he's not great, but he's pretty good. And it's just supply and demand. He's a
pretty,
good player.
and that's the thing, is pretty good is the way to describe it. He was the top transfer portal offensive tackle according to 24/7. Now, in retrospect, has he performed at that level? No, but again, even if you assessed all the O linemen that went to Power 4 schools now, having seen him play for 9 games, Isaiah World would be inside the top 10 at the very least. He would not be number 1. I think Carver Willis has been better. I think Pat Coogan has been better. But I think they differentiated between position groups, so Coogan might not even apply in that conversation there. But, Isaiah World, super highly coveted transfer portal prospect, okay? Has some NFL traits about him. He's been pretty good. He's not been bad, but he is Oregon's
3rd or 4th guy.
At best, he is 3rd. He's probably, Alex Harkey might have a case that he's been better this year, but World's been really good in the run game. It's just in pass pro he's had some kind of moments, but like he is decidedly Oregon's 3rd best offensive lineman. Now, one of those guys ahead of him is a transfer, Emmanuel Prenon, but another guy is a homegrown recruit in Iapani Lalaulu, who I think is one of the best centers in all of college football. So, yeah, it's hard. And by the way, we've watched this with Colorado for the last couple of years. You cannot build an offensive line primarily through the portal. I think at most you can do it 50%.
Yeah. If you have 1 or 2 and they're guys that are like a Coogan who's played at Notre Dame and he's a 5th-year guy, okay. The center at Miami, he's a 5th-year guy, okay, Brockermeyer. Those are exceptions. But this is the point overall for this part of the show. O-line is coveted as it gets in the portal because, as we noted, and Dewey put out there, they don't transfer. It sucks because hardly anybody is in the boat that Notre Dame's in. Like Notre Dame, Georgia, Bama, Iowa. There's a couple others.
Let me throw this idea at you. This just pops in my head as we're recording. If you and I are right, and the prices for transfer portal players skyrocket so much because there's only one portal window,
it's coming.
Could we see more quality offensive linemen go in the portal than they have in the past because they would be such highly coveted prospects? That whereas in the 2 portal cycle, with the demand for offensive linemen and the supply, maybe the high-end guys were commanding $1 million and the average price for a starter offensive lineman was $500K. Well, what if that gets bumped up to $800K and the high-end guys are making $2 million?
Yeah, there's going to be 1 or 2 others.
Just food for thought.
It's very possible because it only takes one guy to change the market. And I know just from recruiting ranks, I'm not going to go into specifics names, but there were a couple of $2 million guys. And that matters. And there was one this year was over $2 million, like D-line, O-line. It's just those guys.
What was one of those guys Jakeem Stewart at USC? Yeah. Who, by the way, man, he's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to go to LSU. They offered 1.2. $2 million's a lot more. I get it. I mean, that's $800K more. I mean, that's.
have these sorts of conversations with people around the lower level of college sports world, because I do play-by-play for that. And in the college basketball world, I see players transfer all the time, and I hear how much they're going for. And in my head, I just go, man, I know that seems like a lot of money to these kids, but it just isn't. It just $800,000. That's not what I'm saying it about. I'm talking about amounts that are way, way less than that. And so when you talk about a gap like that, it's hard to turn down. Like $800K? Like, yeah, you have to pay taxes on. Okay.
But it's still a lot more. You can pay for your house.
You can do a lot.
In a Waterhouse.
You could do a lot.
Yeah.
Provided you have good, sound financial practices that have been instilled in you. But
you can pay for that too with that money.
That's a lot. But going back to the point about Stewart, like, yeah, it seems really expensive for a high school recruit. Well, how does that look right now? Pretty sure he's one of USC's best defensive linemen this year on a team that, as I talked about on my show recently, controls its own destiny to get to the playoff and has improved its run defense significantly. I'm not saying it's all Jakeem Stewart. I'm just saying that guy is a true freshman, is a guy, and going forward, he's going to continue being a guy.
And that kind of leads into the last segment. We think that linemen are going to be pivotal. You mentioned a player earlier in the show that's now at Tech, and it happened because of a dumb reason and a really sad one out in the Bay Area last year. I don't want to get into that sickness. But if you have real coaching, and some schools just don't get the high school kids, generically speaking, thank you, Texas Tech. But if you have crazy boosters, things can change. We're going to talk about that next here on this crossover, Locked on the Portal and Locked on College Football. Your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, and the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to the fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making a late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Head over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. David Bailey transfers from Stanford to Tech, and it's a really interesting story because a buddy of mine didn't think he'd be that great at Tech because he was basically a pass rusher for the Cardinals. Two things. Number one, Stanford did use him very well, obviously. And number two, Tech has coached him up really well because he's pretty good against the run, too. I don't know what Stanford was doing, but that's probably also why Stanford stinks. But that's another story all to itself. He's a dude.
Hey, they're better than I thought they would be. I'll give them credit for that.
I think there was a chance at 1-11 there for a minute. But.
Yeah. It certainly felt that way, but I don't think. I agree. You can finish the point. We're going to agree on a lot of things here.
Tech coached him up. Tech coached up Lee Hunter. Tech coached up everybody around them to make them better. Usually, as we noted earlier, when you bring in a lot of guys at a spot from the portal, the mesh isn't always great. You got to give Tech credit because they didn't beat BYU this past weekend, Spencer. They bludgeoned them.
Yeah, that was a drubbing.
And I can go ahead and give you the realistic situation in the championship game of the Big 12. If it's those two teams again, BYU is who they are. Right? They're not. It's not going to be a lot different. It might be 14 or 17 to 31 or something, but they're not going to be able to run the ball on those guys. They can't move them off the line. So if you're going to spend your money, as we have kind of theorized throughout the show, find that money in the portal with O-line, and the other one is D-line. If you don't have a quarterback, you're done, and you're probably going to spend too much on that to make everything else work. We can talk about that on another show. But Tech, are they the new standard for how teams have to attack it? And are they making teams like Georgia, who's, let's be honest, outside of Dabo, Kirby's probably the most old, crusty guy in college football, how he operates, but he's been good. Does this make them at least think about using the portal a little more? Like, he doesn't have to use it a lot because he recruits so well. But, I mean, I'm surprised at how much success Tech has had. They've really blended it well.
By the way, you said old, crusty, stuck in their ways. We just going to forget Bill Belichick exists or something?
Well, he's not any good at being a college coach yet.
Wow. I'm shocked. I'm shocked completely. and totally shocked that one isn't working so far. But the interesting thing about you bringing up Georgia there is, you know what's been missing from Georgia all season, Brian?
They have no pass rush.
They have no pass rush. No. This is a school that has churned out, I don't know how many defensive linemen in the first round in the last 10 years off the top of my head. I can name a few of them. There was a number 1 overall pick. There was Jalen Carter, just to name a couple that pop in, and you watch Georgia and you're going, wait a minute, why is the quarterback so comfortable all the time? And that changed a little bit against Mississippi State. Oh, what do you know? They won by 20 on the road. Wow, that's great. So I don't think you're going to see a wholesale change from Kirby Smart. I do think Texas Tech will make people turn their heads, look introspectively, think about what they're doing with their program and how they can be more like that, whoever it is. And you mentioned, you got to pay a lot for a quarterback or else it doesn't matter. Some schools might do that a little bit too much. A lower level example of that. And again, I think their heads were in the right place because he was one of the best options available at the time. But Malik Murphy went to Oregon State, and that season is the train wreck of all train wrecks. Okay, they lost to Sam Houston the other night. Malik Murphy has been benched. It's gone so poorly. I think that's more about Oregon State. But to your point about, investing a lot in the quarterback to try to cover up other issues, yeah, Oregon State did that, but they have so many other problems that it has just spiraled in the. Yeah, it's bad. It's really, really bad, and so they need to make a change. Of course, they're going to, and we can put to rest the notion they're going to stick with their interim, Rob Akey, who seems like Akey, I don't even know. Who seems like a nice guy and all, but they won a couple games, one of which was against Lafayette, and people were starting to go, oh, well, should it be him? And I'm like, no, aim a little bit higher. But what Texas Tech is in the portal world, I think, is what Indiana is in the coaching world, where you're going to have a lot of other big-time programs or middle-tier programs or small-tier programs that are going to look at Indiana and say, why aren't we doing that? They're going to do that with Texas Tech. I think they will, because of the immediate success. That this was the offseason. I was dubbed here on my show, Brian, a Red Raider homer. That all of a sudden I jokingly have a love affair with Texas Tech, and it's because they care. Because in no way, and this goes back to our Jakeem Stewart conversation earlier, Texas Tech, anybody, I do not begrudge a school or a team that invests, that cares. What else should you do? Why wouldn't you care? College sports, the greatest thing in the world. Why shouldn't you care? Why shouldn't you invest? Of course you should. Because that's what you do when you care about something. You put time, effort, money into making it the best that it can be. Texas Tech's success, though, we'll see how they wind up doing once the playoff actually rolls around. But you can't deny that they've at least put pressure on the rest of the Big 12. To be like, hey, we're not going anywhere. Cody Campbell's right here. He's going to bankroll this thing. You better figure out what your financial situation is able to become, because we're going nowhere. I mean, you look at the recruits that they've got, with Guyton and the guys at
tackle from Dallas too. It's a stud.
Felix Ojo. Yeah.
That's the offensive tackle. They got a defensive lineman. It's in the 27 class.
Is that Guyton?
Guyton's from Georgia. He's at edge. The D tackle they have maybe the two best D linemen in the country in 27 commit.
Yeah. And again, that is going to make people turn their heads and go, wait, if they're doing it why aren't we doing it that way? How do we figure any of this out? Something that's been suggested, to go back to the Oregon State example for a moment, is, I think founder or president of NVIDIA is an Oregon State alum. And there have been some folks who have said, like, how is this guy not involved with the program? Look at what Phil's done for Eugene, 45 minutes away. Why can we? And you're going to see schools across the country try to find their Phil Knight, try to find their Cody Campbell. Some places don't necessarily need it. Like USC doesn't need a one mega donor. It's Los Angeles. They've got a lot of wealthy alums and plenty of money to go around and all that sort of stuff. And I don't begrudge anybody for investing in that sort of stuff. Like Texas A&M is the classic all money, hype, no production, anything like that. Who would you rather be for the last 10 years in college football? Would you rather be Texas A&M, where you spend a bunch of money, obscene amounts, you're all in all the time, and you underachieve while knowing the potential is there? Or would you rather be Boston College and just
Aggies, stop, full stop, Aggies, because at least you have a chance.
Exactly.
It may not work, and they didn't manage it well, obviously.
Correct.
But BC will never have a chance because they don't get enough players.
Exactly. And that is the point that I've been making, will continue to make for the last couple of years amidst all these changes. Like, would you rather a school, like, for those that, you know, have a negative initial reaction to money in college football, what is the amount? What's the amount that you're comfortable with? There's always been money. It's sports. There's always a financial component. What amount are you comfortable with?
A lot of them it's zero, and that's why those people are just going to be miserable regardless. And I ignore the comments on my YouTube page, or I delete them because they're so bad. But that's a whole conundrum.
What can you do?
Yeah. So I think Texas Tech will change the barometer. And next year, I don't follow the Big 12 like you do, and certainly not like Drake does over at Locked On Big 12. But watch Baylor, BYU, TCU.
BYU.
Those schools, they have money. And I'm curious, if they don't figure it out at Arizona State and start giving him some money, I know his whole family lives on the same street and all that, eventually he's going to get ticked off because they're going to get their teeth kicked in after they lose their quarterback because they're going to get NIL'd to death by their rivals.
Well, it depends on who they bring in at quarterback, but
they're going to need the NIL to get that quarterback.
Speaking of fast risers as programs in the NIL portal era, can I throw one at you that relates to your watch next sign down there for Locked On ACC? Who do you think I'm going to say?
I have no idea.
The SMU Mustangs.
Well, they got money because it's Dallas, so
Correct.
that's been there.
That's what I'm saying.
Singing that praise for a while. That's why he hasn't left.
Rhett Lashley just signed an extension. You know why? Because he knows that he's got what he needs there to be at the top of his conference year in and year out if he's a good enough coach, which I think he is. And they were, I think, primed to be a pullback team this year, but he has laid a really good foundation to be a top-tier team in the ACC each season, which is the worst of the Power Four conferences.
And they've got Jennings back next year. They'll have more experience back next year.
Jennings can sit. No way. Is Kevin Jennings that young?
He's got another year. Pretty sure. He's got a redshirt year, I believe.
Oh, look at that. He could come back next year if he doesn't go to the NFL.
He ain't going to the NFL. He ain't ready for that.
I don't think he is either.
Yeah,
boy, if SMU has the right offseason.
That's what I'm saying. I'm calling it now. Calling it now. I think Tech, because all those people in Texas, they go to the office and bicker. Like, I've been in the middle of that, literally.
Early 2026 ACC power rankings, SMU could be number one.
It's very possible because Clemson ain't it. And do you trust Miami? No. It ain't Florida State. So I'll call it now. SMU's preseason ACC prediction, because they're going to go get somebody with that oil money they got in Dallas. They're going to go get a D lineman.
They could go get some guys. They could go get, I feel like they need a little better trench play, particularly in the O-line.
They lost some guys off last year's unit.
Yeah.
So that hurt.
Yeah.
So, again, that's a barometer for this.
Gosh, now you got me excited for the offseason, Brian.
It's just what I do, man. Just what I do. Spencer, tell everybody where they can find your work, my friend.
Well, if you're not already listening to or watching this show on the Locked On College Football feed, wherever you're listening to the Portal Podcast, you can find Locked On College Football and Locked On Ducks as well. YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. We here at Locked On are indeed, Brian, the number one sports podcast network out there.
That's right.
That's how we roll.
That's right, man. You can find me on social media at FBScout_Florida and all the same places Spencer just talked about for his show. You can find the Portal as well. This has been a crossover Locked On the Portal and Locked On College Football.